Good morning. Good morning. My name is David Theus, and welcome to another episode of the Saturday Morning Coaching Call. Episode number 21. Episode number 21. Today is June 11th. In real time, it's 9:06 a.m. We start this at 9 o'clock theoretically. June 11th, 9:06 a.m. Again, Saturday Morning Coaching Call brought to you by the Small Business Patriot and Northeast Florida Business Alliance, aka the Alliance. If you're watching today on YouTube, thank you very much, under the branding of the Small Business Patriot, and this is the Saturday Morning Coaching Call. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and follow us and subscribe. Leave us a comment if you think this is good news, information, and share with a friend or colleague. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or wherever you catch your audio podcast, please do the same. Like and follow and subscribe, and share with a friend, colleague, or your social networks. Join with me today. Again, my co-host is Peggy Lynch with 21K Promotions. I just happen to have one of your branded products right there. Look at that. 21K Promotions. And Peggy, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well for a Saturday morning, folks. Saturday morning, we're giving up Saturday mornings to come in and talk with one another. Peggy's located over just east of where I am. She's over in St. Augustine, St. Johns County, Florida. If you're familiar with Florida at all, we're in the northeast part of Florida. And I'm in Clay County on the west side of the St. Johns River. I could almost hit a driver and hit the river. If I was hitting it pretty straight anyway, without a slice. And I'm in Clay County, unincorporated Clay County, Fleming Island. And there's much debate whether or not it's really an island or not, but we won't get into that. I've brought that up several times before. So anyway, let's get started. Peggy, if you'll take a moment, introduce yourself and what it is that you do at 21K Promotions. Give yourself a little bit of a plug, and then we'll get started.
Okay, so I'm a branding specialist. So with that, I incorporate branded merchandise into your marketing plan, whatever that may be. There's so many purposes to use promotional products, whether you're handing out something at an event, you're looking for new clients, you're thanking a client, you're working on a safety program. There are just a number of different reasons to use promotional products, and there are hundreds of thousands of them out there in the industry that I have access to. So whatever program you're working on, we can work on together, and I can source some good ideas for you. So, and with that, this week's story, business/client story, is another good one. I have a retail client, and she liked the little sticky notes that I was handing out, and therefore she started buying them. And without realizing it, she decided she would hand that out to anybody that walked in the store. So she, without realizing it, she was able to track her client traffic, because she could, at the end of the week or the end of the month, see how many of those had been handed out. And so that kind of worked twofold, for her.
Wow. So she was able to keep track of how many people came in the store, and yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm sitting here at my desk. I've got your pen, of course, and I'm actually using it today. And then I got a koozie. Now, that you didn't do this one, but this is a specialty product that I used. This is a indoor golf range sort of thing that I got when I was over there playing golf. But I used it last night, and I keep track of that as far as the company. I'm looking at my desk here. What else do I got? The point is, even those simple items, we all know koozies and pens and stuff like that, they stick around, especially if they're, I've got it. In fact, it's packed up since we've moved, but that staple remover, the one that's got the little, like a lever to it, it's not the pinchy staple remover, but it's, when you see it, you're like, what is this thing for? But it's a staple remover. It's the best thing going since sliced bread. But I've probably got that 20 years ago from somewhere, from a company. But anyway, yeah, good stuff. And it's branding that stays with you and people keep up with it. So good. Welcome. It's I don't give a weather report. It's hot. It's getting hot. Welcome to Florida. It's that time of year where the rain gets on schedule about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock. We'll see that probably football season as far as summer practice has started. I'm not a part of that this year, thankfully, but it's in my DNA still as a former athlete. This time of year is when I start thinking, oh, I got to get ready for football practice. It's 2-a-days. But I'm just thankful I don't have to do that anymore, nor coach it. All right, let's get started. So you've got a idea that we kind of discussed. You want to try verbalizing one more time and let's see if we can't tackle it?
Sure. It's regarding the challenges / concerns in small business. And I listed about 5 of them, and I thought maybe we could do a little bit of an overview, kind of a refresher. And those 5 are getting and retaining clients is one, and money management or cash flow, marketing, online presence or social media marketing, and then time management, of course.
Okay, hang on. Client retention, cash flow,
Marketing, my favorite.
Online, social media. What was the last one?
Time management.
Time management. I think what we're talking about is the many plates that are spinning in the air as a small business person. Okay. Well, that's a good one. We talked about earlier, we don't rehearse this really. This is all kind of on the fly, and you can make an argument that's a good thing or bad thing. What we end up doing here in this episode is we have this discussion that's pretty quickly on the fly, meaning she brings it up and I get to hear it about 30 seconds before the show starts, and my mind goes into overdrive. And then I start thinking about some stories that I can talk about to discuss this. And then we have a newsletter called the Small Business Patriot that comes out every Monday morning in your email, delivered at 6 o'clock on Monday mornings. And if you don't open it via Constant Contact, it gets delivered to you again. I think we're going to have it redelivered on Wednesdays about 8 o'clock in the morning. But if you're interested in this newsletter, weekly newsletter, there'll be a link in the show notes below where you can actually sign up for free. And it's 52 weeks. It comes out every week. And there's always tidbits and insights and marketing ideas and legislative updates from Washington as far as regarding small business, my view on capitalism and free market and conservatism, that sort of thing. And so this conversation is the conversation that feeds the information that I'm sourcing for the newsletter. So this broadcast actually goes into the newsletter as well, so you can catch it there or share with a friend. And then because of the stimulus of having this conversation, it helps me look for information that I can share in the newsletter as well. And so this is a conversation that happens a lot with small business folks, especially the person who decides they want to start their own business but has no earthly idea how much is involved. It's always something. I don't like working with startups as a business consultant or coach because I've said before, those who have these ideas to start their business, they tend to know everything, and they're not as readily available to take advice or hear outside information because they know it all. And so I like to let them savor a little bit, if you will, in the world of being in small business. And usually about 18 months. If they can survive that long, a year to 18 months, they're like, okay, I should call somebody that can give us some help. And so the challenge, if you will, is you're a one-person show. You're a man or woman. For the most part, when you have this idea, it starts as a hobby or starts as a side gig or side hustle. And you start off promoting a product or service, but before you know it and things get running, you've got a lot of things going on. You become that person that handles You know, the client retention portion of it. How do you manage your cash flow? How do you do your marketing, whether it's online or social media or, you know, physical space? How do you manage your time? And the successful people that seem to stay in business past the national average of 1 year running out of business, I think it's 88%, some crazy number, like 80, at least 80% of all small businesses fail in the first year. What they try to say is, well, I know what it is. It's money. They run out of money. But the reason they run out of money is because they make a lot of mistakes that they're always trying to recover from. And so I guess there's two sides. We're going to be kind of a little bit disjointed here a little bit, which is normal. But if you take a small business and let's say you've got, I don't know, you're going to bootstrap it with $10,000, which is a lot sometimes. Some people start with small businesses with a couple $100 they rub together. But you start a business and the meter or the thing that's going to judge whether or not you're going to be successful or not is can you sustain the business long enough to get it up and running? And so the easy target that most people go after is how much money you had and how fast you ran out of it. But what they fail to realize is what is the cause of you running out of money? I think it's because you make poor decisions that cause you to make mistakes. And then by the time you realize you've made a mistake, you've got to recover from that. And you've spent $500 or $1,000 of the 10 that you had, or of the 2,500 that you had. Yes, eventually you're going to run out of money, but it's really the mistakes that you've made that cause you to do that faster. And so the secret to someone staying alive is making fewer mistakes. And so how do I make fewer mistakes, Dave? Well, you seek out some guidance from somebody and listen to someone who's been there before, or someone who's, you know, there's a roadmap for this sort of stuff. And we were saying briefly in the beginning of the show or before the show that, you know, it's not sexy in the sense, and that's probably a term I should get out of my lexicon, but it's kind of habitual habits. You just keep doing over and over again every day. It's a very systematic approach to success. Once you find the model, once you identify the model that works for you, as far as, you know, going out marketing, getting the right people in front of the right customers, the potential customers, managing your money properly, then you just basically put it on set it and forget it, or what is it, rinse and repeat. You know, you just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And the key is making fewer and fewer mistakes. That's easier said than done, mind you. But that, I think, you know, the easy thing is say, well, they don't have enough money. Well, they clearly don't have enough money. I guess the overarching argument is you don't have enough money to sustain you through all the mistakes you're making, is what it is. And somewhere in there, I'm saying the same thing. But what I've discovered is you make mistakes, and the mistakes are costly. I mean, how many times can we talk about? You mentioned, and I'm not going to pick on you, but I mean, you brought it up as far as a marketing exercise you thought you wanted to do. You spent some money on it, and more importantly, you spent time, and that time wasn't productive, and therefore the money wasn't productive. So, I mean, you could have spent $250 or $1,000 on something. It got nothing, you know, theoretically, there was no return. And so if you had that time is really the element that's more important than money. But if you had that time back that was somewhat productive, that could advance your cause, then the $1,000 would have been worth it, you know, or at least more worth it. If that's a good way of saying that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on, we'll get into some specifics here in a moment, but any thoughts on the concept of running out of, it's really about running out of time to keep screwing up. Hopefully you're learning, we learned something along the way that, okay, that's a mistake. I don't want to do that again. I don't know. You ever butt your head against the wall on those sort of things, or do you find yourself learning quicker, or? What?
Well, I think I want to say that I'm learning quicker now. Although, yeah, the time and the money, I think, are equally important. And I think that if a person with a new business idea getting ready to start up would consult, find some resources, and get information on those things, what kind of problems other small business owners have come across, how they changed it out so that their money, they would have some cash flow, and more time, for the business. So I think if they did that, um, if a potential new business owner would consult, I think that would save them a lot of headaches, time, money.
I think there's a fellow in our group. Um, I don't want to say his name or not, but there's a fellow in our group that we met early on, and he was really struggling, and he has a viable product and service. So it wasn't like he was, making buggy whips or something like that, and it just didn't make any sense. He had a viable product and service, and it just he needed time to reach critical mass to where enough people experienced his service that it would turn into some referrals, and the snowball would start rolling. And so I told him 18 months, man, your first benchmark needs to be 18 months. Now, he asked me, am I going to be successful after 18 months? That's all I need to do is get to 18 months and then the rest of it's easy sailing? No. But 18 months, if you're plowing and working at this pace that he was doing, he was out there grinding it. And it was a struggle, man. It was hard. But if you could make it at that pace for 18 months, it seems like, in my experience with other small businesses, that is the mark where you've reached enough people, where someone's heard of you or used you, that people start talking about you. And there's it's a crazy thing in business. You start a business and you get good feedback and people are like, oh, this is great. You're doing such a great job. But it's almost like the public is like, oh, he's going to go out of business. I'm just going to wait and see because they're going out of business. I know they are. Instead of getting off their backside and come in and support us, it's almost like there's this element of the population. It's like, no, they're going, prove me wrong. They're going out of business. We had a coffee house out in a county west of us years ago, and people would come in and say hello just to find out what we're doing, and then they wouldn't purchase anything. And I'd be like, you're here. I ended up, here, taste our coffee. Let me give you some, let me get you to experiment and try it. And then they would come back, but it was almost like the conversation went, well, I'm not going to try it right now because I don't want to get attached to you because you're going to be out of business soon. I swear that's part of the psyche of the people, is that they're just waiting for the other shoe to drop for you to be out of business. So you've got to stay engaged and stay around long enough for 18 months. So I guess from a financial advisor type person advising someone from the cash flow standpoint, or the cash supply you need, if you can put together a cost structure, knowing what your overhead's going to be, and 18 months, that could be pretty significant. I mean, for a guy who's trying to bootstrap, if it's $2,000 a month, your overhead, and $36,000 you better have in the bank. Some people may come to me and say, $36,000, I don't have $36,000. Well, maybe you shouldn't be in business. I know in the restaurant business, for example, you can't have enough money. If you're going to start a restaurant, and I know there's plenty of people out there that started restaurants, as a side gig, or a food truck, or a hot dog stand, or something like that, but it'll eat you alive with money. I walked away from the restaurant business saying, there's just not enough money. You can't have enough to get one going to properly do it. Obviously that's not true. People do it on shoestring budgets, but the point is, it takes a lot of money. But 18 months, if I can
that must seem like an eternity, 18 months.
Well, I mean, when you're starting out, it is. I mean, hell, you can talk about how long a year is in our life. That's a trip around the sun, right? It's a birthday to birthday. That's a long time, 12 months. But as we spoke this, that's my little friend back there talking. Alexa, volume 2. Live television. Anyway, yeah. So back to the challenges of client retention, cash flow, marketing online, social media, time management. I don't know if I'm going to get into every detail of these other than to acknowledge that these are all plates that are spinning at one time while you're working. And as you and I spoke briefly before the show started, you know, the practice of business is about finding those things that need to be done. We got to market. We got to serve our customers the best possible way we can. We got to meet and or exceed their expectations. I'm always telling people, put yourself in their shoes. You know, it's easy to be the business owner's shoes and say, where's my business? How come you haven't done business with me? But put yourself in the customer's shoes. And every time you speak to one of your prospects, put yourself in their shoes and ask yourself, what is my expectation from this guy? You know, what do I want? Well, I want timely communication. I want responses to my request. I want emails or phone calls. I want to be kept up to date. I want a superior product. You know, I want a great price. So if you can start putting yourself in their shoes every time you meet a prospect, the likelihood of you meeting, that should be the baseline, that you meet their expectations. But if you can exceed their expectations, now you're on their radar. Now you've done something that says, well, wait a minute, this guy or gal is outperforming anybody I've met so far. I mean, they're really hanging the moon for me. So do that first, but do that every time. Do that with every prospect, and even before they become a customer, wow them with communication. You know, thank them for the opportunity. I spend a lot of time thanking people just for the opportunity to have a conversation. I haven't sold you a thing, but thank you for including me in this opportunity today. Thank you for the chance to meet you today. Thank you for the opportunity for me to share my story. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I think if we all said thank you 10 times more a day, the universe would be a better place. You know, we could cut down some of this strife that we've got going on in our country if we just said thank you every once in a while. And then those things kind of fall in order. The client retention piece, you start acting like that, doing things. I wrote an article years ago about be different. And how can we be different with our prospects and customers than what everyone else is doing? You think about the bad experiences you've had maybe at I don't know, some sort of retail operation or with a client relationship. And where did it go wrong? You know, can you think of anything off the top of your head that maybe you had one of those, I'm never going to go back to that person again, or I'm never going to go to that place again?
Yeah, a local restaurant. You know, I was very disillusioned, just being treated poorly. You know, I had an issue and I was treated poorly, and no resolve.
Yeah, a restaurant can be an easy one to encapsulate because there's a lot of things going on. There's an immediate satisfaction of a product, you know, the food that's being delivered. There's an immediate satisfaction of service being provided because, you know, it starts at the front door when you're greeted. Hey, good afternoon, welcome to Dave's Sub Shop, or whatever it is. And then how timely are you greeted? How timely are you seated? How timely is your order taken? You know, how clean is the table and how clean are the restrooms in the place? You know, that sort of thing. How clean is the shop itself? And so there's a lot of opportunities in a restaurant to meet and or exceed the customer's expectations. And in that arena, if you can exceed expectations, really that's what you've got to do in a restaurant. I mean, some people, I don't want to get too far down in the weeds on restaurants, but the point is, I'm probably one of those weird ones that my bar isn't as high as some people's. I mean, I kind of look at a restaurant and say, if this is the price point, then my expectation is it moves. If I'm going to Ruth's Chris then my expectation as far as the service and all the other stuff, the bar is pretty high. And I'm not one of those guys, if a steak's cooked wrong, I'm gonna throw it at the guy and say, oh, I wanted it rare. You know, I don't do that stuff. I'm just saying, if you say that this is who you are and you're going to charge this amount of price and I'm willing to pay it, then the expectation is going to have to, the bar is going to move. But if I'm going to Taco Bell, you know, whatever, I want to pick on those guys, but you know, my wife will order food. She's done this recently. She'll go, look, I've already placed her order, go pick it up. So I get to be the guy that drew the short straw. She ordered the food and I have to go pick it up. Well, I don't like that scenario. I'm already in a bad place because drive-throughs I don't do well because I have this spatial disorder with the menus. I can't process it very well. And so, but if she's already ordered it, I have no idea what she's ordered. So I have no idea what I'm picking up. And so when I get there to pick it up, I assume it's all in the bag. I'll usually tell them this is an order for Dave and this is the online order. Everything's there. Oh yeah, well, you're good, Dave. See ya. And we get home and inadvertently, you know what's wrong. Something's not there. You know, we ordered 2 of those little fried curly Q things, you know, or 3 of them. We only got 1, you know, or there's no hot sauce, or we're missing a whole bunch of tacos or something. Well, that'll almost send me into outer space because I get frustrated that I drove all the way over there. The order came in on the computer where you can actually see the printout, and this person couldn't fill the order. Well, I manage that expectation a little bit better now. I don't go out of space anymore, but I know going in that could happen. And so my level of expectation is not quite as high as Ruth's Chris. And so therefore, when it does happen, I just, well, that's just the way it is. You know, we got what we paid for, which is sad, which shouldn't be, even though you paid $14 versus Ruth Chris versus $140. It should be the same level of meeting the expectations, I guess. But it doesn't always work out that way. So,
yeah. And I'll tell you what, I work at trying to exceed expectations for my clients. But then what happens is when I become the customer, then my expectations are way up there. And I have to put that into perspective.
Well, that's called empathy. I think there's the challenge is we know how hard we work at providing services for our customers. If it's important to you, you know how hard you work at doing it. And then now you're the customer, I think is what you're saying, and you place that level that you do for your customers on them and say, I put in this effort. I expect you to do the same thing. That's not always the case, as you, I think, are alluding to. And that's what sets us apart. Now, when we're on the receiving end of that, that is a struggle, a challenge, because I can do it. You know, if I can do it, then you can do it. But there's a whole bunch of factors involved. If I do it because it's mine, it's my business, I own it. It's my blood, sweat, and tears, and I know what it takes to exceed the customer's expectations. But the person I'm talking to, it might not be their business. You know, that's the challenge of us as small business people trying to hire people. You know, I hear this all the time. The only way we can grow is we got to hire people, but I can't find anybody that'll work as hard as I do. Well, you're right, because it's not theirs. It's yours. If you cut them in for a piece of the cake, you know, or a piece of the ownership, maybe you'll find someone that'll work as hard as you will, but then you're a small business person. You don't want to cut up the cake.
Right.
You know? So there's that challenge between the two of us. And then when you go out and have expectations that you're going to be serviced to the level that you're used to giving, yeah, get ready, because that's not going to happen. Which is really a sad testament. Yet at the same time, it should be a positive for you to reinforce that you're doing what you're doing is good, Because if you go out on the street and it's a rarity that your expectations are exceeded. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
You remember those people that exceeded your expectations. You talk about them. If it's happening less than you think it should, but you're doing that with your customers, that same thing's going on in their head too. They're probably going, wow, this doesn't happen every day. And this person brings it every day when I do business with them. So that should be a reinforcement that we stay. It's tough, you know, to have a servant heart and to exceed those expectations when you're not getting it in return. Oh boy, that's a pound of flesh waiting to be redeemed, you know. And I struggle with that. I mean, I'm a much better place now than I ever was. But what my father used to say, he'll give you an ounce of what for. if I don't get what I need, you're going to get an ounce of what for from me, you know. And you didn't want none of Dad's what for, that's for sure. Yeah, isn't that fun? You know, let's boil all this down. What are we talking about? This is about people. It's about people. It's about the relationship that we have with one another. It's about putting someone else first, putting the other person before yourself, and loving on them, and doing right by them first. And man, that's tough as broken people, you know. And I'm in the front of the line on this, that I want mine, and I want to make sure I'm getting, you know, when someone says line up, when I watch kids on the playground or something, line up, does everyone wait to get to the back of the line? No, someone wants to be the front of the line. There's like 5 or 6 kids fighting over I want to be the leader. I want to be the leader. Well, that's us in the real world too. You know, each one of us wants to be first. And that's a healthy thing. I mean, that's part of what makes America great, I believe. We shouldn't, you know, I don't want to be a socialist here. We should be competitive. But when we're serving our customers, we should be putting them first. It shouldn't be about, you know, I'm going to get my margin. I don't give a damn how I get it. I'm going to get my margin out of the deal, even if I have to provide shoddy service and shoddy products. No, that's not what we're doing. No, we won't survive. Anyway, interesting. It's funny how this thing takes turns and curves in our conversation. All right, 9:38. This could be a short version today. Any other thoughts?
No, I just I thought it was good to have a little bit of a review, you know, as to what it takes, you know, to start a business and continue to run a small business.
Yeah. I think if you had a seminar where you were inviting people, hey, this is for anyone interested in starting a new business, and you sat down and told them, look, it's not going to be all that exciting. You're just going to do the same thing over and over and over again. You might not get a lot of people to sign up. But when you get into the trenches, it's like, hey, it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm not asleep yet. I got still work to do. Hey, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I got to get up. And I do that 6-7 days a week. I don't know how many people would sign up for that initially, but there's something wrong with our DNA. There's something we've got a gene issue or something wrong with us that we sign up for that, and nobody pays us to do it. So anyway,
that's right.
Let me put a little programming note out there, if you don't mind, real quick, just to wrap this thing up.
Okay.
So we are in full swing for the Alliance, the Northeast Florida Business Alliance. And I've discovered something that's kind of cool that we'll be able to, we have a Facebook page called Northeast Florida Business Alliance. And then on LinkedIn as well, there's a page, a group. There's a group that's for paid members, but there's a page as well for Northeast Florida Business Alliance. If you're on LinkedIn, get over there and find us. It's got the state of Florida in green and a little star at the top where we're located. And like and follow along with us on LinkedIn and also Facebook. But what the newsletter that we produce allows us to do, there it is. Look at that logo. That's it. Thank you. What the newsletter allows us to do is put in a link into the newsletter on where our next event's going to be happening. And so we're right about 200 subscribers on the newsletter right now, and we would love to grow that. It doesn't cost you anything. It's 52 weeks. It's free. And I hate to say the word free because sometimes that conjures up the lack of value, but it is free. And you'll be able to see all kinds of things, small business marketing tips, insights, again, some legislative updates that are happening in Washington. I'm not a big fan of, Washington is not our friend as small business, but in this context, we're trying to share what Washington's trying to do to us. And so I think it's very important that we stay informed in what they're up to and how they're trying to screw us, basically. But that's whole nother podcast for another time. But that information is available to us. And then this broadcast will be reproduced or distributed into the newsletter every week. So it'll go in tonight's newsletter, ready for Monday. And then the ability for us to promote the upcoming event for Northeast Florida Business Alliance, which is pretty cool. So I would love to get to 1,000 subscribers, 2,000 subscribers, 10,000 subscribers, a bunch. It doesn't cost you anything, and it's a great mechanism we have to do this. So having said that, there'll be a link in the bottom of the show notes where you can sign up for the newsletter. I don't sell your information. We don't trade it off with somebody. It stays with us. And all I'm asking for is your name and your email address. Okay. Anything else, Peggy, before we sign off?
I'm good.
All right. It's hard to believe 21 of these episodes in the can. And just like we talked about in today's show, it's about consistency. And just when you think you're not getting anywhere at all, in your business and the things that you're trying to do, you got to stay in it. You got to stay in the hunt and keep going. And I appreciate your efforts that you bring topics to the discussion. And Peggy Lynch with 21K Promotions. I'll have your website as well as your email address in the show notes as well. So reach out to her, and you can contact her from anywhere that you are in the continental United States. She does business in 7 different states now. Yeah, 7 different states. So with the technology of computers and emails and Zoom, oh my, she can do business from anywhere you are in the continental United States, probably in Alaska and Hawaii too, but let's not get crazy. All right, well, that's it. I'm going to start rambling if I don't shut up. So again, my name is David Theus, like the US, Theus, and you've been watching the Saturday Morning Coaching Call, brought to you by the Small Business Patriot and Northeast Florida Business Alliance, aka the Alliance. And until we meet again, have a great rest of your weekend and week. Be prosperous and stay vigilant.
Thank you, and see you soon.
Okay, peace out.